What's going on, everyone? So the Minnesota Timberwolves are expected to be one of the higher upper echelon teams, particularly in the Western Conference. They were a team that were just in the conference finals and looking to at least get back there and then potentially to an NBA Finals. So far this season, they have started 0-1, losing to the Los Angeles Lakers on opening night. Now, obviously, one game isn't cause for concern, isn't cause for panic, but Minnesota, there were questions and concerns going into the season, particularly after they traded Karl Anthony Towns. And how would this team look? Also, what about the floor spacing? Like, would there be concerns about that? And it's something that I highlighted in previous videos after the trade that the Minnesota Timberwolves ended up having, in which they swapped Karl Anthony Towns for Julius Randle. And everything that I talked about, all of the concerns that I had for Minnesota, all were very apparent in that first game. Now, again, I understand it's one game, but the fact that, like, all of the issues and concerns that I believed were going to be very clear for Minnesota all exist. Now, that doesn't mean that they can't figure things out. That doesn't mean that they can't adjust and change. However, particularly the floor spacing was an issue. And you saw Anthony Edwards, which is my biggest concern, kind of became relegated to a jump shooter rather than a guy who is one of the best finishers around the rim and arguably the best rim pressure players, at least at the guard position, in the entire NBA. And instead, he has to become now a higher volume three-point shooter, taking more than half of his field goal attempts from three-point range, and like 90% of them were just jump shots, in which he went 10 of 25 from the floor and 5 of 13 from three. But this is, again, an issue. And you look at, for example, Minnesota shot 32% from three-point range on 13 of 41. Now, the Lakers shot even worse. They were 5 of 30 from three on 17%. So that's not really a great look. But the Lakers were one of the better percentage teams last year. It's just, can they adjust to the more volume of threes? Where you look at Minnesota, they struggled to really stop the Lakers and their offense. Like, Lakers were still generating looks. Now, the biggest issue was the domination of the interior by the Lakers, because you traded Karl Anthony Towns. And you saw when Rudy Gobert went to the bench, Lakers just had a field day on the interior, right? And they were hustling and out-rebounding them. And really, for a team that last year was atrocious, particularly with the offensive rebounds, was just out-hustling and out-playing Minnesota. Because, again, when previously you would swap out Rudy Gobert, but you could still keep Karl Anthony Towns in the interior. And then even in that Denver series, right? Karl Anthony Towns was actually better defending Jokic than Rudy Gobert was. And you saw Naz Reid, who, was incredible for them last season and was solid in the game against the Lakers, but you saw Naz Reid being 6'9" was a disadvantage. The problem that Minnesota has is they lost a lot of their floor spacing. They already had issues with Rudy Gobert. And, even guys like Jaden McDaniels isn't this, like, knockdown three-point shooter. He can on occasion, but he's not this consistent. He's going to just shoot the lights out on a regular basis. Mike Conley can be very hot and cold at times. And now you got a guy in a Julius Randle who, one, doesn't provide the floor spacing. He's had seasons. Yes, you get a little more toughness. You get some rebounding and stuff, right? The idea, the potential for a better version of Minnesota is there. But there's also as much, if not, in my opinion, more likely that Minnesota is going to be worse. Because I think that they lost a lot of size by giving up Karl Anthony Towns. And Julius Randle, I don't know if it was just the game or what, but Julius Randle looked incredibly disengaged. He looked very lethargic out there at times. And on top of that, he's just, like, even the Lakers, like Rui Hachimura even called him out. That, like, part of the game plan was that Julius Randle just gets caught spacing out and, doesn't really pay attention to what's going on the basketball court. And the Lakers took advantage of that on several occasions. And is that an issue that continues going forward? Where Karl Anthony Towns, he gives you that size, he gives you the floor spacing, and can knock it down with efficiency on higher volume, as well as just the versatility that he provides that you just don't get with Julius Randle. So that's the problem. But more than anything is you neutralize Anthony Edwards, right? You saw the Lakers' defensive schemes was to essentially pack the paint, right? They basically defended at the free throw line and were kind of keeping everything in front, but they neutralized Anthony Edwards getting the bat. I mean, even Anthony Edwards said he hates playing the Lakers because of the way that they defend him. But if you have a guy like Karl Anthony Towns who can spread the floor, right? Or you do kind of go smaller and say, Nickeil Alexander, he's going 3 of 4 from three-point range. Well, now with Cat, you can go and get different looks, right? You could put Cat at the center spot and allow him to kind of draw out, if a Jackson Hayes was in the game or Anthony Davis is in the game. And then now Anthony Edwards kind of gets some more range getting to the basket. And you can kind of spread them out with like a McDaniels, a Conley, a Nickeil Alexander, right? Like it gives you more options and flexibility that you just don't have anymore because you no longer have Karl Anthony Towns. So it's going to be an adjustment period. It's going to be a curve for Minnesota. Now, I'm not saying that Minnesota is going to be terrible or anything like that. I'm not saying that they won't figure things out. It's very possible that they can, but there's also concerns that they won't, right? Like at some point, do you end up having to trade Julius Randle because it's not a good fit. It just doesn't work. And maybe have to go some more floor spacing. But the thing is, like which is why I don't really get it. One of the big reasons why they were able to beat Denver was because of their size, was because of their two centers, because of their two big men. And it gave them that advantage against most teams in the league, right? They were one of the few teams, if not the only team really, capable of running 2 7-footers and one that can, is arguably the best shooting big man in the league. I mean, make an argument, one of the best shooting big men ever, right? Like, so now it's like, how do they adjust with the lack of floor spacing that Julius Randle provides? Teams, especially, it's not so much the regular season, right? The regular season, they have enough talent. They're going to be good enough, right? They're going to, at worst, be probably a top 5 team in the Western Conference. It's more so once you get into the playoffs where teams really start to scheme and night in and night out. Teams are just going to defend the Timberwolves the way that the Lakers did. They're just going to basically defend the free throw line in. They're going to let guys like Julius Randle take 10 threes a game if he wants. And they're going to just try to contain Anthony Edwards. And I really could see Minnesota having quite the struggles and put themselves in quite the binds in the playoffs. I don't know if this is a team that is going to be able to get back to the conference finals, right? I don't think this is a team currently built that is going to be able to get to an NBA finals. I think that they were on the right track. I think that they were on the right course. I think rather than going and trying to make some crazy splash, you were better off just kind of staying the course and kind of upgrading and trimming around the edges, which I thought they did. I thought they did a nice job of really adding guys. Maybe at some point, if Mike Conley can't provide the consistency you're looking for, maybe you're bringing in like a Dante DiVincenzo in the starting lineup. Maybe you are at some point looking to trade Julius Randle, or maybe you end up even having to bring him off the bench. I don't know if Julius Randle's going to like that, but you might not have a choice, right? You might need to get and provide the floor spacing. Or if Julius Randle can kind of get back to a better efficiency than what we saw. Again, but the problem with Julius Randle is he is inconsistent shooting the 3 ball. And he's always been that, right? Like he's had seasons in which he shot, right? You look at the 2020-2021 season in which he shot 41.1% on 5.5 attempts. Like that's ideally what you need, but that's also the best shooting season he's ever had. Since that season, he's been 31%, 34%, 31%, 33%. And before that, he was 27%, 34%, 22%, 27%, 27%. You need Julius Randle to be at least 36, ideally closer to 38%. Otherwise, again, I think you're in trouble. Right? Minnesota is deep. They are incredibly talented. They have a lot of versatility out there. But I don't know if this is a team that is going to be able to maximize what they need to maximize. Now, again, it's game one, so I don't want to overreact. But literally, I laid out all of my concerns for Minnesota, and all of it was very apparent in that game. I mean, very apparent. The lack of size, the lack of shooting, right? Neutralizing Anthony Edwards and making it more difficult for him. And it's just like, I don't really understand what the plan was for this. But, again, we'll see. We'll see as the season progresses if they can kind of figure some stuff out, kind of put some better schemes out there. Maybe at some point you do have to make some adjustments. I think at some point you're probably going to have to move Naz Reid in the starting lineup in place of Julius Randle. Or you trade Julius Randle and put Naz Reid into that starting unit just to give you some floor spacing. Maybe go get another big or something. I don't know. I don't know quite what the answer is. Obviously, I'm sure that they'll figure some stuff out as the season progresses. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion and a past question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you, too, have concerns of Minnesota and kind of what they're going to be capable of doing this year? Do you think, nah, it's fine. They'll figure it out. They'll work it out. It'll all be all right. Again, how do you feel? Whatever your thoughts are. I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out. Lets me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.